All right, Raiders fans, gather round because there's a lot to unpack about the current state of the Las Vegas Raiders defense, especially after that tough blow with Lonnie Johnson Jr.'s injury. If you haven't caught the news yet, Johnson broke his fibula in what was a freak accident during the Raiders' mock game. It was one of those unlucky moments where he collided with Max Crosby, and suddenly the team is left scrambling to figure out how to fill the void he leaves behind. Johnson was more than just a player. He was a key piece of the secondary puzzle, the kind of safety the Raiders were counting on to bring stability and playmaking ability to the back end of their defense. Now, the big question that everyone's asking is how Pete Carroll, Patrick Graham, and John Spytek plan to adjust the defense moving forward. Johnson was slated to be the third safety, playing some single-high safety snaps, which is a role that requires a unique combination of athleticism, awareness, and physicality. Losing a player like that isn't just a simple substitution. It's a disruption that demands the coaching staff to get creative and find a way to keep the defense functioning at a high level. I came across a tweet from Johnson just days before his injury where he expressed his desire to retire as a Raider. That kind of loyalty and commitment is rare in today's NFL, and it hits hard knowing what he's gone through. He talked about wanting to find a home not only for himself but for his wife and 4 kids after bouncing around the league for a while. That shows the kind of heart and determination he brought every day. It's heartbreaking to see that opportunity cut short, but it also sets the tone for what kind of mentality this team wants to embody moving forward, one of dedication and resilience. With Johnson out, the Raiders are left searching for answers on who will step up and fill that critical free safety role. It's clear they aren't going to replace him with just one player. This is going to be a collective effort across the secondary. Isaiah Paul Lamaw is already the listed starting free safety, and while he's a solid presence, the Raiders might need him to take on an even bigger role now. Then there are players like Trey Taylor, who's been grinding hard, hoping to earn more reps and prove he belongs on this roster. Though he wasn't the first call when Johnson went down, Taylor's work ethic can't be overlooked. JT Woods is another name to watch. He's shown versatility playing both safety and cornerback, which makes him a valuable chess piece in Patrick Graham's defense, known for its complex schemes and constant movement. Woods has the athleticism to fit in the nickel package and can help cover those critical intermediate zones. But when it comes to replacing Johnson, the top 2 names that the Raiders seem to be focusing on are Thomas Harper and Chris Smith. Thomas Harper has had some experience filling in at free safety, including stepping up during the mock game. His versatility and understanding of the defense make him a logical candidate to absorb some of Johnson's responsibilities. But the player that Pete Carroll and John Spytek have pointed to most directly as Johnson's likely replacement is Chris Smith. Smith, a 5th-round pick from the 2023 draft out of Georgia, came off the bench during that mock game and showed promise stepping into that role. Like Johnson, Smith isn't a traditional free safety, and that speaks volumes about the Raiders' current defensive identity. They aren't necessarily looking for a pure free safety, but rather a hybrid player who can adapt to multiple roles. This reality highlights a larger issue for the Raiders' secondary, the lack of a true free safety on the roster. Jeremy Chinn, Isaiah Paul Lamaw, Lonnie Johnson, and Chris Smith all bring different skills, but none fit the mold of a classic centerfield free safety who patrols deep and locks down the back end. That's why the Raiders' front office and coaching staff have to keep their eyes on the free agent market. There's a real need to bolster the secondary with someone who can handle that role with confidence and leadership. If the Raiders trust Chris Smith to rise to the occasion, that shows faith in their own draft and development process, which is admirable. But there's also a clear understanding that the team may need to explore external options to truly upgrade the position. In a league that's all about matchups and versatility, having that dependable free safety who can cover deep and make plays is invaluable. Now, if you haven't been following closely, this might all sound like Raiders insider talk, but here's the reality. If you're serious about being a smarter Raiders fan, you need to pay attention to these names and developments. Smith has been stepping up during practices and games, but the question remains whether he can consistently deliver at a high level throughout the season. Looking ahead, there are a handful of free agent safeties that the Raiders should be targeting aggressively. The secondary is the area that feels like the weakest link on this defense right now, especially with the recent loss of Christian Wilkins on the defensive line, which will also affect the overall pressure and coverage schemes. Upgrading safety depth and quality is essential to keep this defense competitive. The first free agent on the radar has to be Justin Simmons. If I were sitting in the Raiders' war room, the first call I'd make after Johnson's injury would be to Simmons. He's a seasoned pro with a track record of consistency, durability, and playmaking. Since 2017, Simmons has started at least a dozen games every season, tallying over 130 games played and over 120 starts in his career. His background includes working under defensive backs coach Joe Woods, who's now part of the Raiders coaching staff. That connection alone could ease Simmons' transition into the Raiders' defense. Simmons is not just a reliable tackler, but also a playmaker who consistently gets interceptions and disrupts opposing offenses. His experience and football IQ would be a huge boost to a secondary that is currently lacking a true center fielder. Though the Raiders face salary cap realities and Simmons' preference to play for a contender, if they could find a way to make this move happen, it could change the trajectory of their defense. Next up would be Quandre Diggs, a versatile safety with solid credentials and a strong coaching connection to Pete Carroll. Diggs is a physical player who can handle roles both in the box and in coverage, making him an attractive option for a defense that needs versatility. At 32 years old, he still brings a lot to the table, though injuries limited his participation last season. His experience playing under Carroll with the Seahawks adds another layer of familiarity that could benefit the Raiders. Turning to the depth chart beyond Lamar, players like Thomas Harper and Chris Smith suddenly become critical components of the defensive plan. Harper's versatility makes him a logical candidate to pick up snaps at free safety, but his experience is limited compared to Johnson's. Harper has flashed the ability to move smoothly in coverage and provide run support, but stepping into a full-time, starting role mid-season is no small task. His football instincts will be tested week after week against some of the league's best offenses. Chris Smith, on the other hand, carries a unique narrative. Drafted in the 5th round of the 2023 draft out of Georgia, Smith was a highly regarded athlete with a reputation for being a hard hitter and a reliable tackler. However, the transition from college star to consistent NFL contributor often takes time, especially in such a nuanced role as free safety. Smith's initial performances in the mock game and early training sessions showed promise, but the true test lies in sustained play against starting-caliber opponents. The Raiders' coaches seem bullish on his ability to grow into the role, and that optimism is essential for the team's future, but is also a risk. JT Woods is another intriguing figure in this puzzle. Known for his ability to play multiple positions, Woods is a defensive back who thrives on flexibility. He can cover slot receivers as a nickel corner and drop back as a safety when needed. His experience and athleticism allow the coaches to use him in different packages, but his effectiveness hinges on how well he can adapt to changing roles. Patrick Graham's defensive scheme relies heavily on deception and constant shifts, so a player like Woods is valuable, but his impact is maximized only if he can maintain consistency. The lack of a true, prototypical free safety remains a glaring weakness for the Raiders. This gap has forced the team to look externally for reinforcements, especially as they face a brutal schedule filled with elite passing attacks. The free safety must serve as the last line of defense, someone who can cover the deepest threats and provide a safety net for the corners. Without that stability, opposing offenses gain confidence throwing deep routes, challenging the Raiders to make stops downfield. When analyzing the free agent market, it's clear the Raiders need to act decisively. Justin Simmons stands out as an ideal candidate for the role. His history speaks volumes: a consistent starter, a proven ball hawk, and a defensive captain. Simmons' ability to read offenses and create turnovers would be a game-changer for the Raiders' backfield. Additionally, his experience with Joe Woods, the Raiders' current defensive backs coach, offers a natural bridge to assimilate into the system seamlessly. Unfortunately, Simmons' salary demands and desire to join a contender present challenges. The Raiders would have to navigate cap space carefully or propose a deal that aligns with Simmons' ambitions. Quandre Diggs also presents an attractive option, particularly because of his familiarity with Pete Carroll's defensive system from their time together in Seattle. Diggs combines physicality with coverage ability and can function well both in the box and deep in coverage. His age and recent injury history require caution, but his understanding of the scheme could make him a quick and effective addition to the Raiders roster. John Johnson is a versatile safety who has experience playing multiple roles in the secondary, offering the Raiders an adaptable piece. Though not known as a tackling machine, Johnson excels at reading plays and positioning himself to prevent big gains. His experience under Joe Woods further strengthens his candidacy, but durability and age factors must be considered. Jordan Whitehead, at 28, brings youth mixed with experience, having started over 100 NFL games. His connection to John Spytek, who coached him during a Super Bowl win, could smooth his integration into the team culture and defensive philosophy. Whitehead's ability to perform near the line of scrimmage, as well as cover deep zones, adds valuable versatility. Stephon Gilmore is a more unconventional choice, primarily known as a shutdown cornerback in his prime, but now transitioning into the latter stages of his career. Moving him to free safety could capitalize on his instincts and ball skills without relying on his declining speed. This could be a strategic move for the Raiders if they want a veteran presence who brings leadership and experience to the defensive backfield. Looking deeper into the Raiders' current roster and player development, there's a strong emphasis on cultivating young talent like Chris Smith and J.T. Woods. These players represent the future core of the secondary, but they need to develop quickly. The coaching staff's ability to nurture their growth while balancing immediate defensive needs will determine how competitive the Raiders can be this season. Beyond personnel, scheme adjustments will likely be necessary. Patrick Graham's defense thrives on disguise and pressure, but with weakened personnel in the secondary, the Raiders might have to rely more on blitzes and front seven disruptions. Increasing pressure on quarterbacks reduces the need for perfect coverage downfield and can mask vulnerabilities in the secondary. Injuries, however, could complicate this approach. The defensive line will be tested without Wilkins, and injuries to edge rushers or linebackers could further strain the unit. The Raiders must emphasize durability, conditioning, and depth across the roster to withstand the inevitable grind of the NFL season. From a fan's perspective, it's a time of cautious optimism mixed with concern. The Raiders have pieces that show promise, and the coaching staff is talented, but the loss of a player like Lonnie Johnson Jr. exposes a fragile spot that must be addressed quickly. Fans will be watching closely how the team manages the next roster moves, the weekly performance of emerging players, and whether the team can maintain a cohesive defensive identity amid adversity. As the season unfolds, the pressure mounts on the coaching staff and front office to strike the right balance between patience with young talent and urgency to upgrade through free agency or trades. The team's success will hinge on their ability to field a defense that can hold its own in critical moments, create turnovers, and support the offense. Ultimately, the Raiders' journey this season will be a test of resilience, adaptability, and strategic foresight. The defense's evolution in the face of adversity will define not only this campaign, but the long-term trajectory of the team. Every practice, every snap, and every roster decision now carries extra weight as the Raiders strive to remain competitive in a highly contested division. The story is still unfolding, and there's much to watch for in the coming weeks. The challenge of replacing Lonnie Johnson Jr. is just the starting point in a larger narrative about how the Raiders will respond to setbacks, seize opportunities, and pursue their goal of returning to relevance in the NFL. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a stunning turn of events that has sent shockwaves throughout the NFL, the Buffalo Bills and Las Vegas Raiders have finalized a blockbuster trade that will see superstar quarterback Josh Allen heading west to join the Silver and Black. The announcement was confirmed earlier today by both franchises in a joint statement that left fans and analysts scrambling for details. This unprecedented move marks a dramatic shift in the league's balance of power, as the Raiders appear poised to revitalize their franchise with one of the league's most dynamic playmakers under center. Sources close to the situation indicate that the deal has been in the works for weeks, with negotiations intensifying following Buffalo's disappointing playoff exit last season. Allen, a two-time MVP finalist, had grown increasingly frustrated with the Bills' inability to provide a reliable supporting cast, and the Raiders, eager to reclaim their status as perennial contenders, saw an opportunity they couldn't pass up. The trade package reportedly includes multiple first-round draft picks, a seasoned veteran defensive player, and financial considerations to help offset Allen's massive contract. As details continue to emerge, one thing is clear. The landscape of the NFL has shifted dramatically, and both fan bases are bracing for a new chapter in their teams' histories. The acquisition of Josh Allen by the Raiders is a bold declaration of intent by a franchise long associated with inconsistency and underachievement since their last Super Bowl appearance over 2 decades ago. With this move, the organization signals its commitment to building a championship-caliber team around one of the NFL's most electrifying talents. Allen brings with him a rare combination of arm strength, mobility, and leadership that instantly elevates the Raiders' offense into elite territory. Las Vegas has struggled in recent years to find a long-term solution at quarterback, cycling through various starters without finding the stability needed to compete in the AFC West. With Allen now at the helm, expectations will skyrocket and pressure will mount on the coaching staff and front office to deliver results. The Raiders' receiving core, led by stars such as Davante Adams and Jacoby Myers, is expected to flourish with Allen's playmaking ability, and the offensive scheme may undergo significant changes to fully leverage his dual-threat capabilities. Analysts are already speculating about the potential for immediate postseason success, with many predicting a playoff run in the upcoming season. This trade not only reshapes the Raiders' trajectory, but could redefine the AFC hierarchy for years to come. From the Buffalo Bills' perspective, trading away their franchise quarterback is both a shocking and calculated risk that reflects the front office's desire to reset and rebuild with long-term success in mind. Josh Allen has been the face of the franchise since being drafted in 2018, leading the team to multiple playoff appearances and becoming a beloved figure in Western New York. However, despite his individual brilliance, the Bills have repeatedly fallen short of reaching the Super Bowl, often running into powerhouse teams at critical junctures. The decision to move on from Allen suggests a recognition that the current roster had reached its ceiling and that bold moves were necessary to chart a new course. In return, the Bills receive a treasure trove of draft assets and a veteran defensive star who will immediately bolster their unit. General Manager Brandon Beane emphasized the importance of long-term planning and flexibility during a press conference following the announcement, assuring fans that the team remains committed to competing at a high level. While some fans are devastated by the departure of a beloved icon, others are cautiously optimistic about what the future holds. The Bills now face the daunting task of finding Allen's successor and maintaining their competitive edge. League-wide reactions to the trade have been swift and varied, with players, coaches, and analysts offering a wide range of opinions on the seismic transaction. Many current and former players took to social media to express their surprise, admiration, or concern, highlighting Allen's stature within the league and the magnitude of his move to Las Vegas. Sports talk shows and online forums have been dominated by discussions dissecting every facet of the trade, from the motivations behind it to its potential ramifications on the playoff picture. While some pundits view the Raiders' gamble as a masterstroke that could vault them into immediate contention, others caution that such high-stakes moves carry inherent risks. Chemistry, adaptation to a new system, and the weight of expectations could all influence Allen's performance in his new home. Meanwhile, Bills fans and media are grappling with mixed emotions, oscillating between nostalgia for Allen's heroics and curiosity about the team's new direction. The trade also reignites debate about quarterback valuation in the modern NFL and whether investing heavily in a single star can consistently yield championship results. Regardless of differing opinions, there is unanimous agreement on one point. This trade is one of the most significant in recent NFL memory. Looking ahead, the implications of the Josh Allen trade will unfold over the coming seasons, shaping not only the destinies of the Raiders and Bills, but also the broader competitive landscape of the NFL. For the Raiders, the move is a high-risk, high-reward proposition that could either culminate in long-awaited glory or prompt another cycle of recalibration. Allen's arrival injects excitement and optimism into a fan base eager for relevance, and the pressure will be immense to capitalize on his prime years. For the Bills, the focus now shifts to building through the draft, identifying a new quarterback, and fostering a team identity capable of sustained success. This transition period will test the patience of fans and the strategic vision of team executives. Around the league, rival teams will monitor the situation closely, recalibrating their own strategies in response to the new power dynamics. Coaches and general managers alike will analyze how bold personnel decisions can redefine a franchise's trajectory. As preseason games approach and training camps intensify, all eyes will be on both organizations to see how they adapt to their new realities. One thing is certain: the NFL's landscape has been irrevocably altered, and the ripple effects of this trade will be felt for years to come. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.